Lisa Gilbert. I'm the co-president of Public Citizen.
Okay. And how long have you been in that role?
I've been at Public Citizen for about 15 years, but only co-president since July. I was the executive vice president for about 5 years before that.
Okay, great. So you've been there a while. Oh,
Yeah.
oops. So just if you could just give a little thumbnail description of what DOGE is and what its role is according to Trump and Musk.
Yeah. So it is an external entity with tentacles that are reaching into the government. So, people positioned in specific government agencies, but advising from the outside primarily, helmed by Elon Musk, obviously a billionaire with no particular government experience. And the idea is to cut regulations that they deem are burdensome, primarily to industry, and slash government spending. So things that are, to some might seem in the pursuit of efficiency, but from our perspective, what they'll be cutting, the types of things they want to do away with, are things that actually protect regular Americans from wrongdoing companies, and the richest among us, things that would hurt regular people. And at the end of the day, really have the potential to transfer massive amounts of wealth to the richest class, of which, of course, Musk is a part of. So not something that we think is helpful, not really the way to pursue efficiency, and hugely problematic.
Right. And I know Senator Bernie Sanders sent out something after this was announced saying that the military budget would be a good place to start if they truly are seeking cuts to make the government more efficient.
Right. Plenty of places to cut if you were serious about this, but that's not what we anticipate.
So you sent out a letter, you and your co-president, I guess to President Trump, suggesting that it might be a good idea to include the two of you in this effort. So tell me about that. When did you send that, and did you get a response?
Yeah, last Monday, we sent a letter to the Trump transition co-chairs.
Oh, I'm gonna start you over because by the time this runs, it won't be last Monday anymore. So could you give a date?
Yes, although time has no meaning, so I'm forgetting what that day was, but the 13th. So on January 13th, we sent a letter to Trump transition co-chairs, Howard Lutnick, Linda McMahon, basically with our belief that they are not complying with the Federal Advisory Committee Act. We think that the entity they're setting up, DOGE, is clearly a federal advisory committee, which means that they have to have balanced participation, and being helmed by a billionaire and staffed by tech bros, in our perspective, is not balanced. And myself and my co-president, Robert Weissman, with our long track record of expertise on rulemaking and deep service to the public, would provide a very different perspective. So, we requested that we become a part of DOGE. We've not yet gotten a response, although a similar request that came from a colleague organization of ours that is actually a co-filer in our lawsuit against DOGE, States Defending Democracy Fund, did get a response, which was, we have no room in our administration for Democrats. So we'll see if we get one, but if we do, we expect something similar.
Right. And that was literally what they said, or that was what you interpreted?
What they said.
Okay.
Yeah.
You say that again in response to my question. That was literally what they said. There's no room for Democrats.
Literally what they said in response. Yes.
So you had some suggestions though, for where you could find a lot of cuts to the budget that would make it more efficient and not hurt regular people. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our sense is that, if one was truly thinking about, fixing our government, thinking about efficiency as something that helps regular people, there are lots of things that you could do. You could think about ending privatized Medicare, for example, or as we discussed earlier, and Senator Sanders also recommended reducing the wasteful Pentagon budget. You could cut fossil fuel subsidies or reduce drug prices. There actually is a huge set of smart public investments that you could make that would make our government more efficient and save money at the same time. But this is not what we expect with the current ideological bent of DOGE. We expect instead that they will be thinking about cutting programs and policies that we all care about, whether we're talking about the Department of Education or Meals on Wheels or SNAP benefits. The types of cuts that we expect are not things that will make the lives of regular Americans better.
So I'd be willing to bet that the Trump administration didn't even know about that law that requires these advisory committees to be balanced. This feels like I've been around for a long time. And I was a child during a young child during the McCarthy period, but I just feel like maybe since then, at least, there hasn't been as much of a disruption of American democracy. And I'm concerned. And I know that in Trump's first administration, he was really disorganized, and he had actually appointed people who took the job to try to, rein him in, which they were quite successful at doing in some regards. So now with Project 2025, they're just following the playbook to basically rewrite government and, as you said, make it serve even more the oligarchs and the tech bros and Trump's own family. So lawsuits now, and I just feel like he could just ignore them. What does your lawsuit aim to do? And
our lawsuit, which we filed jointly with AFG, so the Government Employees Union, and States Defenders Democracy Fund, as I mentioned, simply says that, despite its name, DOGE is not a department of the United States government, as announced by Donald Trump and as reinforced in the executive action they issued on day one. This is an entity that will be advising, and so there are a number of requirements that go along with having a federal advisory committee. You have to have a fair balance of viewpoints. You have to have meetings that are held in public and with public notice. You need to have publicly transparent records and work product. So all of these requirements are things that, if not happening, make DOGE in violation of the Federal Advisory Committee Act. So we are suing on those grounds.
And where are you suing?
In DC, in the circuit court.
Okay. And so lawsuits usually take quite a while to move through the courts. Is that, you filed it and now you're waiting for whatever comes next?
That's right. Yes. So filed at 12:01 on Monday. So no response as of yet. Although we have been assigned to a judge, but nothing more.
Okay, 12:01. You mean on election day? On the day he was inaugurated?
Correct. I believe we were the first lawsuit filed in the new administration.
Okay. Wow. So, in terms of, well, I guess we should just focus on the DOGE thing. Do you? Is there now staff assigned? Besides Musk, is there staff assigned to this advisory committee that is actually going to, start producing documents about where they should be cutting the budget?
Our understanding is that people are being deployed to specific agencies to make these recommendations and to be seated there while they investigate what cuts or regulatory changes they want to recommend. But unclear how much work has actually happened as of yet. But yes, this sort of interplay between outside government and inside government has definitely begun, and seems like it began even within the transition.
Mm-hmm. Well, is there, I'm curious, are there things that really stood out to you from Project 2025 that your, excuse me, let me say that again. Are there things that stood out for you from Project 2025 that you feel like are maybe the most dangerous possible changes that we could see?
That is a hard question. There are so many. It's a parade of horribles in Project 2025. So it's hard to say something is worse than anything else. But I think we're a lot of what we expected. A lot of the most horrific early things happened. Right on day one or early on day two. We expected them to declare a national emergency around energy so they could begin to move the wrong direction on energy policy. For them to withdraw from Paris Climate Accords, to withdraw from the World Health Organization, to pardon the January 6th offenders, although I'm not sure we expected the pardons of the most violent offenders that we saw. The list kind of goes on and on. The immigration orders, we expected but are horrifying. So I think it's less like anything has been surprising and more like we need to jump into action. You asked how I'm feeling when we were chatting before this interview began, and I said sort of frantic and focused. I think that's where we're at. We saw a realization of what they wrote down, which is helpful. They gave us a blueprint, so we were ready to fight back as soon as things started happening.
Yeah, well, good. You feel like I felt after his first election, and I'm trying to. I mean, I'm still doing things, but I have this really dread.
Yeah,
um, I'm a
it's a
climate activist, and I work a lot with young people, and I'm kind of just like this is like it's like they're all cheering when they're going to destroy the world for their own children. It's just like it's a little hard to grasp.
Yeah, uh, I hear that, and I think a challenge at the moment is just avoiding trying to sink into their headspace and instead um, realizing what we know we can. But it's a challenge, and I think we're all struggling with it. I certainly know, inside our institution, we have to keep recentering at Public Citizen and reminding ourselves, tactically what we need to do. I absolutely think there are things we can win right now. Pushing back on some of the most corrupt nominees to try to stop them, this legal work that we're doing, and organizing. There will be moments when mobilization makes a difference. And so, being strategic in our choices on that front as well.
Okay. All right, great. Is there anything else specifically about the DOGE orbit that we didn't talk about that you want to say?
I don't think so. Just, it's a watch this space. We will see what happens from here. And certainly, as they start to make recommendations and do the work, we're teed up to make the points that we've been talking about here today about how what they want to do is exactly the opposite of what they promised on the trail. It hurts regular people. It doesn't help. And anyone who thought he was a change maker is going to be sorely disappointed. So we'll be making that point throughout.
Right. Okay, great. And we can link to your website, but if anybody goes to the website, because I can't remember if I saw it when I went, is it easy to find? Like, what if people I want to read the lawsuit? Is it easy to find on the website?
But so our website is citizen.org. So very straightforward in that regard. And then our litigation page, it should be front and center. You can also probably find the press release we put out on Monday to learn more about it.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your being so available on such short notice. And this will run, our week starts on Wednesdays for historical reasons. So Wednesday evening, this will be posted and on our blog as well. And it goes, to radio stations around the country. So
Send me the link and I'll share it with our communications.
okay. Okay, great. Thanks so much, Lisa. Take care.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.